Fernando Mendoza is finally speaking out about what happened in the Raiders locker room, and the reality behind the headlines is far more intense than expected. While the #1 pick has talked about earning leadership, internal tension suggests a harsh veteran-driven initiation behind closed doors. Now reports point to a toxic divide forming inside the team. On the night of April 23, 2026, the Las Vegas Raiders selected Indiana Hoosiers quarterback Fernando Mendoza with the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. It was the culmination of months of scouting, film study, and deliberation by a front office that had been haunted by the last time they held the #1 pick. That last time? 2007, Jamarcus Russell. Russell was selected first overall by the Raiders in the 2007 NFL Draft, but his tenure was marked by inconsistent play and questions over his work ethic. He signed a 6-year, $68 million contract, lasted 31 games, threw 18 touchdowns and 23 interceptions, and never played in the NFL again after being released. The shadow of Russell has loomed over this franchise for nearly 2 decades. So when Mendoza's name was called, the pressure wasn't just about football, it was about exercising a ghost. Owner Mark Davis himself acknowledged it. "We've had that position before, and it didn't work out, but it's a great opportunity to get a great player." General Manager John Spytek had spent 7 months studying Mendoza. He'd watched him live against Purdue on Black Friday. He'd stood next to him on the field pregame and noticed his size. You're like, he's a big dude. Then, to see the ball come out of his hand, see the velocity. The Raiders flew commercial and private, rented cars in the South and the Midwest, and poured endless hours into studying the 2026 draft's quarterbacks before settling on Mendoza. On draft night, Spytek told the media what sealed it for him. "Just a great person, raised the right way, great family. He's about the right things. It's about his team. It's about winning." That might sound like standard draft night praise, but what happened in the days and weeks after the pick proved these weren't empty words. Because what Mendoza did once he walked into the Raiders locker room, the choices he made, the conversations he had, and the tone he set, was the part nobody expected from a kid who just won everything there was to win in college football. The Raiders hadn't just drafted a quarterback, they drafted a culture shift, and Mendoza was about to make that clear from the first moment he set foot on the practice field. The story that really captures what happened inside the Raiders building didn't take place at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. It took place in a hotel room on a Friday night. Day 1 of the 2026 rookie minicamp had just wrapped. The first NFL practice of Fernando Mendoza's career was in the books. Most rookies in that position would decompress, watch TV, call home, rest for day 2. Mendoza did something else entirely. On Friday night, after day 1 wrapped at the Intermountain Health Performance Center, Fernando Mendoza pulled the rookie offensive linemen into a hotel room and asked them to give him snaps. Not for cameras, not for social media, not because a coach told him to, because he knew where his weakness was. Mendoza took almost every snap of his college career out of shotgun at Indiana, and getting comfortable under center is the most obvious technical hurdle. Between him and starting week 1, at both Cal and Indiana, the offensive systems had him lined up 5 to 7 yards behind the center, on virtually every play. Now, in head coach Clint Kubiak's system, which had a 52.6% under center rate in Seattle the year prior, the second highest in the NFL, Mendoza would be expected to put his hands under the center on the majority of snaps. So he gathered his fellow rookies, including third-round offensive lineman Trey Zune III out of Texas A&M, and took 25 to 50 snaps under center with each offensive lineman in that hotel room, over and over, getting the hand placement right, feeling the footwork, working through the turn and handoff motion that he'd rarely performed in 3 college seasons. Zune III confirmed the sessions were already building something beyond technique. "We didn't do very much under center at Texas A&M either, so it's been great getting those extra reps. We are getting ready to roll." These after-hour sessions became a nightly ritual. Both Mendoza and Zune noted that the offensive players continued playbook walkthroughs at the hotel each evening. "There's time when we're just sitting around in the hot tub, cold tub, just messing around. But when it's work time, and everybody knows that." Mendoza himself put it plainly when asked about the transition. "Instead of being back there in shotgun, we have to get back to make sure you best serve your offensive linemen, still be on time, and still decipher the defense." And with that, actually having an emphasis on those first 2 steps, on securing the snap and getting out of there, and being powerful with having quick feet. That hotel room moment mattered because of what it signaled to the other rookies. The guy at the top of the depth chart, the one whose face was on every NFL draft broadcast for months, was willing to put himself in the most uncomfortable and vulnerable position, admitting he needed work on a fundamental skill, and do it alongside his teammates, not above them. This wasn't calculated brand management. This was a 22-year-old quarterback confronting his biggest on-field gap head-on, and inviting everyone else to grind alongside him. It was also the beginning of what teammates and reporters would describe over the next 48 hours as a locker room dynamic, unlike anything they'd seen from a #1 pick. When the media got their chance to speak with the Raiders rookie class after day 2 of minicamp, the reporters expected the standard platitudes. What they got was something far more telling. After day 2 of rookie minicamp, one thing became increasingly clear. Mendoza is just one of the guys, not in the manufactured PR-trained way where a top pick says the right words at the podium and then retreats to his own orbit. In the way where 3 different teammates, unprompted and in separate press conferences, described him with almost identical language. Trey Zune 3 called him a guy's guy. He just connects with everybody. Super friendly, easy to talk to, getting to know everybody. He's a great leader, and I'm happy to be working with him. Second-round safety Tre'Dan Stukes, whose locker sits directly next to Mendoza's, provided a revealing window into the daily vibe. He is a super funny guy. It has been so much fun sitting next to him. I've only been there for 3 days? But it's been super cool getting to know him. I'm super excited to get to be his teammate. Then came third-round outside linebacker Kieron Crawford, who shared a detail that perfectly captured the locker room energy. My agent called Fernando when I got drafted like he immediately called him. It was exciting because I always watched his interviews, just because I thought he was a funny person. Crawford said he felt being alongside Mendoza would teach him about what it takes to be an outstanding professional. And fourth-round cornerback Jeremiah McCoy was even more direct. We got the best quarterback in college football, and now he's going to be the best in the league. It's one thing for a quarterback to have arm talent and football IQ. It's another thing entirely to walk into a locker room full of strangers, men from different schools, different states, different backgrounds, and have every single one of them tell the media the same thing. This guy connects. This guy leads. This guy is real. Part of what made the locker room chemistry so striking was Mendoza's own awareness of his position in it. He refused to lean on his resume. When reporters pushed him on leadership, he deflected. If you ask my teammates, I wasn't always a nice guy. I was an a-hole sometimes because I wanted everyone to do their 1/11th, everyone to do their job, hold everyone to a high standard. However, coming into a new organization, starting from the bottom of the totem pole, I believe that leadership is earned, not given. That phrase, bottom of the totem pole, would become a recurring theme in everything Mendoza said during those first days. A Heisman winner, a national champion, a #1 overall pick, calling himself the bottom of the totem pole, and meaning it. The Raiders GM had identified this quality long before draft night. Spytech was particularly impressed by Mendoza's relationship with his offensive linemen while in college at Indiana, which included weekly get-togethers on Sunday to watch the NFL. That wasn't a coach-mandated team activity. That was Mendoza organizing it himself. And now in Las Vegas, the same playbook was already in motion. To truly understand why Mendoza approaches his career the way he does, why he organized hotel room snap sessions, why he calls himself the bottom of the totem pole, why he connects with teammates the way he connects, you have to understand the road that brought him to this point. Because Fernando Mendoza was not always the consensus top pick. He was not always the Heisman frontrunner. In fact, not long ago, people called him a traitor. Mendoza played college football for the California Golden Bears before transferring to the Indiana Hoosiers in 2025. But his path to Cal was itself an unlikely story. Growing up in Miami, Florida, the son of Fernando G. Mendoza IV and Elsa Espino, he was rated as a 2-star or low 3-star prospect by recruiting services. He was not invited to major camps, and his film was largely ignored by top-tier Power 5 schools. He originally committed to play college football at Yale, and it was only when another recruit flipped his commitment from Cal to UCLA that Mendoza got his shot at Berkeley. He redshirted in 2022 and then earned his first career start in Week 6 of the 2023 season. In 8 starts as a redshirt freshman, he completed 63% of his passes for 1,708 yards and 14 touchdowns, leading the Golden Bears to a 6-7 record and an Independence Bowl appearance. He showed promise, but nobody was projecting him as a future #1 overall pick. In his second season as a starter in 2024, Mendoza continued to develop, winning back-to-back ACC Quarterback of the Week honors. But something inside him was shifting. He wanted more. He wanted a system that could make him a pro-ready quarterback. Mendoza stated that his primary reason for leaving was to find a system that could turn him into a pro-ready quarterback. On December 11, 2024, Mendoza announced he would be entering the NCAA transfer portal. 12 days later, on December 23rd, he announced his commitment to Indiana. The Cal fan base was not kind. It was a dark moment, very lonely, very tough leaving all my friends at Cal, and it was demeaning some of the rumors and lies that were said about me. He's a traitor, things like that. He knew the risk. I was taking a big risk on myself. Maybe I'm gonna look like an idiot if I swing for the fences and I whiff. What if Cal has a better season than I do at Indiana? He chose Indiana over programs like Georgia and Missouri because head coach Curt Cignetti promised to turn him into the best Fernando Mendoza possible. His younger brother Alberto was already on the roster as a redshirt freshman quarterback, which helped smooth the transition. What followed was one of the most dominant individual seasons in the history of college football. Mendoza led Indiana to an undefeated 16-0 season and a national championship. He generated 3,535 passing yards with a 41-6 TD-int ratio and rushed for 7 scores. He won the Big Ten championship game against the #1 Ohio State Buckeyes, throwing for 222 yards and a touchdown in a 13-10 victory, Indiana's first Big Ten title since 1967. He was named the game's MVP. Then he carved through the college football playoff, defeating Alabama 38-3 in the Rose Bowl, Oregon 56-22 in the Peach Bowl, and leading a 27-21 championship win over Miami, where he scored the decisive fourth-quarter rushing touchdown. Mendoza became the first player in Indiana school history to win the Heisman Trophy, receiving 84.66% of total possible points, the 7th highest in the history of the award. He finished first in all 6 Heisman regions, the first to do so since Caleb Williams in 2022. This was a kid who almost went to Yale and was labeled a traitor for leaving Cal. Now he owned every individual award in college football and had led a program that hadn't won a national championship in its entire existence to the promised land. That journey from overlooked recruit to pariah to champion is what walked into the Raiders' locker room. It's why he organizes snap sessions in hotel rooms. It's why he calls himself the bottom of the totem pole. He's been the bottom before, and he knows exactly how to climb. So what really happened in the Raiders' locker room? What Mendoza went public about wasn't a scandal. It wasn't controversy. It was the opposite. It was a 22-year-old quarterback walking into a franchise that had been synonymous with dysfunction, at the position for 2 decades, and immediately doing everything the last #1 pick didn't do. Consider the contrast. Jamarcus Russell held out through training camp and into the first week of the 2007 NFL season, holding out for his $68 million contract. Mendoza skipped his own national championship White House celebration to stay with his new teammates. "I'm on the bottom of the totem pole here. I've got to prove myself." Mendoza told reporters, "I can't miss practice. As a rookie, I don't think that's a good look. I want to try to best serve my teammates." Russell's commitment to the Raiders and to his craft was questioned from almost the beginning of his time with the team. Scouts and coaches complained he didn't study game plans and thought he could get by on talent alone. There's the famous or infamous blank DVD story, where the Raiders reportedly gave Russell a game tape with no footage on it to test whether he was actually watching film. He said he was ready to play. Mendoza, on the other hand, spent his time in the film room, studying Kirk Cousins and Seattle Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, closely watching both players' footwork and eyes to prepare for Kubiak's system. He wasn't told to do that. He sought it out. The Raiders' front office had studied Mendoza with the meticulousness of a team that knew they couldn't afford another Russell. During a private workout at Indiana, Kubiak installed plays and then quizzed Mendoza on what they discussed, trying to make it difficult. Assistant GM Brian Stark recalled the result. It was difficult, and Fernando just buzzed right through it. Didn't bat an eye. The meeting lasted nearly 2 hours, and afterward, the Raiders asked Mendoza to arrange dinner, picking his favorite restaurant in Bloomington. They wanted to see the person, not just the prospect. Following the departure of Derek Carr, the Raiders had experienced instability at quarterback. cycling through 7 starting signal callers over the past 3 seasons, and going 15 to 36 during that span. The carousel of Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, Geno Smith, and others had made the franchise a cautionary tale in how not to build around the most important position in sports. Now, Mendoza will start the season on the bench behind Kirk Cousins. That might surprise some people given the hype and the pedigree, but the Raiders have learned from their mistakes. Jamarcus Russell was handed the job without being ready for it, and he never recovered from that. This time, the plan is development. Cousins, who knows all too well what it's like to be displaced by a first-round quarterback, after his experience with Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta, has approached the situation with acceptance instead of frustration. The locker room already feels different. 3 former Raiders Heisman legends, Marcus Allen, Tim Brown, and Charles Woodson, have already weighed in on Mendoza. Their advice was simple: don't try to be Tom Brady, earn the trust of the locker room, and be a sponge. Mendoza chose to wear the number 15 jersey, the same number as Raider legend quarterback and coach Tom Flores, and received Flores's blessing to do so. When Mendoza arrived at Raiders headquarters for the first time, he met with alumni Jim Plunkett, Fred Biletnikoff, Tim Brown, and Marcus Allen. He became the 5th Heisman Trophy winner to be drafted by the Raiders organization, joining Allen in 1982, Bo Jackson in 1987, Brown in 1988, and Woodson in 1998. What really happened in the Raiders locker room is this: a franchise that has spent 19 years trying to recover from the damage of one number 1 pick may have finally found redemption in another. Mendoza didn't come in waving his Heisman. He didn't negotiate from a suite. He gathered linemen in a hotel room on a Friday night and took snaps. He studied film on his own. He told reporters he was nobody. He made his teammates laugh. He built trust in 48 hours that some quarterbacks never build in years. Our potential is nothing unless you improve every single day and control the controllables, Mendoza said. I'm looking forward to growing and being back on the bottom of the totem pole, and working my way up, and earning the respect of my teammates, and becoming the best player I can become to best serve them. The kid who was called a traitor for leaving Cal. The kid who was once committed to Yale. The kid whose mom lives with multiple sclerosis, and whose family came from Cuba with nothing. That kid just walked into a locker room in the desert, put himself at the bottom, and started climbing again. And this time, the whole franchise is going with him.